Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Alu-Cab Gen 3 Expedition Series tent. This tent's been out on the market for a couple years now. I recently purchased mine about 2 months ago when I was out in Phoenix, Arizona. Today we're going to be giving a review of the tent and then my thoughts on the tent as well, what could be improved, things that you should be cautious about before you make the purchase and decide to either buy a hard shell tent like this or a soft shell tent like the CVT or any other name brand tent. I'll be doing a lot of comparisons to the CVT, specifically the Mount Shasta Summit Extended that I had, because that was actually a tent that I owned for 2 years, and I'll be making a lot of comparisons to that based on my ownership of that tent and based on the ownership of this tent. Keep in mind, I've owned it for about 2 months, and I've spent about 7 or 8 nights in the tent. So fairly new to me still, but there's several things that I've noticed in comparison to the CVT that I wish that it had. And there's several things that the CVT doesn't have that this is capable of. So in this video, we'll talk about all those points and help you make an informed decision on what tent to purchase. One of the things I love the most about this tent is how easy it is to set up. So right now I'm going to walk through exactly how to set this tent up and just show you how quick and easy it really is. So as you can see, that's how easy it is to set this tent up. Last step that you really have to do is set up the ladder. The ladder that comes with the tent is meant to stay up in the tent, and we'll take a look at it right here. It actually comes with this canvas bag that is a very similar, if not the same material that the tent is made out of. It's very durable. I haven't tested if it's waterproof or not completely. But it's a nice material. I'd say they did a great job with the bag. And then the ladder is all aluminum. One good thing about this ladder is that when it's set up, normally the top bracket is right here, and that's the top of the ladder that connects up to either the rear entrance or one of the sides. Now, the tent comes with an extra side bracket so that you have the option of mounting it to the left or to the right. But when the ladder is properly set up, it is flat. So it's not like one of the, I don't want to say cheap, but it's not like a normal collapsible ladder where when it's at an angle, your feet are more or less stepping on the corners of the steps. You actually get to step flat up the ladder. When you come to place the ladder inside the tent, the black Velcro strip is actually the lip of the lower lip of the shell of the tent. And then the wall in the back is actually a gap between the top and the bottom of the tent. So there's a gap from the front hinges to the actual lip of the inside of the tent, and that's what that wall is. Common mistake is that when people slide the tent in, one of the feet is either to the left or to the right, and if you push it against the back fabric wall, you can actually push off the Velcro and push it further over the lip. Now we'll talk about a couple of features that's offered on the inside of the tent, what I like and what I don't like. So the tent comes with the rear rainfly over the back, and then it also comes with the 2 spring rods needed to lift up the rainfly. Additionally, the inside of the tent is about a queen size mattress, give or take. It's not as wide as a queen size. I would say it's more like a twin XL or like slightly larger twin XL. This top blanket, this quilt, is actually a queen size quilt that I have folded in half, and it almost covers the entire thing. There's a couple inches on either side that it doesn't cover. So a little bigger than a twin XL, and then the length. So the mattress is not the same length as the inside. There's actually a gap between this lip. Focus. There we go, kind of. Alright, so you can see that there's actually a gap between the lip and then the actual shell on the inside. But from this gap to the mattress is probably a good 3.5 or 4 inches or so, give or take. So the mattress doesn't come up all the way, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. I kind of like it because I can store extra gear there, but sometimes, especially with me, I'm 4 foot, or not 4 foot, 6'4", and sometimes I'll be kind of slanted when I'm inside the tent. Otherwise, my toes, if I lay my feet out completely, they'll actually touch the back wall. And then if I'm like that, my head is actually against this fabric right here. So that's something to consider. The mattress is also fairly firm. I mean, it's about 2 inches wide, and it seems really plushy when you push it, but when you're laying on it, it's actually more firm than not. The tent also has power, so if we take a look down here, you'll see the integrated Anderson connector. Now this connector feeds inside the tent. It's very thin gauge wire. I think it's like 16 or 18 gauge. It's really not all that much, so you're not going to be running anything crazy up here, but it's wired to a switch that's under this window on the inside of the tent that will turn on and off the LED light up there. And it will also feed power into the inside of the tent here. So this is not the box that came with the tent. This is actually a homebrewed DIY project box because my electrical box that came with the tent was not working. So I went ahead and built my own. I cut the wires, which you may or may not be able to see back there. Yeah, so I snipped it off. Luckily they had put some butt slices, not butt slices, but some male to female connections on it, and so I was able to take that off and then completely redo the wires and the electrical system. So it's just a project box off Amazon that I stuck a 12 volt USB charger. So it's got a quick charge and it's got USB-C, and then this is big enough that I could put, 2 or 3 more outputs on here and then wire them all up, and then it's also small enough to fit back inside. It's larger than the old one, or the one that came with the tent, but it's better, I think, because I can add to it. Now on the inside of the tent, you'll notice I have all my sheets and stuff in here. So base layer, I have a fitted sheet, and then I have just a standard sheet, and then I have a fleece blanket, and then I have my Walmart quilt. so nothing too crazy, but enough to get me by when it's mildly cold outside. I also keep my 2 pillows up here. This all stays up here when the tent is closed. So I'll kind of put them in the middle. I'll put the spring rods out to the side, and yeah, it'll just, everything stays up in here. So also we have the 6 pockets that can store whatever. Now they're great pockets. They're decently sized. I actually have some stuff up in there right now that stays in the tent. But the problem with these pockets is that they don't offer a place to store shoes or boots. Now, I'll say that I've been told, what do you do when you have muddy boots? You bring them up into the tent and you're supposed to put them up into those pockets. That's not really an acceptable answer in my case. Like out here in the Georgia clay, when it rains, which is a lot of the times when it's, you know, off-roading season, you know, we'll be climbing up into the tent with muddy boots, like out in the woods, and you know, that's just not something that I want to bring up into the tent, let alone put inside the tent, hanging over half of my body when I'm sleeping. I'm not gonna try out like how waterproof those canvas holders are. It's just not something that I even want to attempt. Now they might be great, it might be completely waterproof and not leak on you, but then you still have mud on the inside of your tent, and getting that out and cleaning that is just not something that I want to deal with at all. The other thing that's both a curse and a blessing is that the windows open from top to bottom. So this is great when you want privacy in the mornings, or you know, you just want to control how much light kind of comes into the tent, because you can kind of zip it up and keep it where you want it, have some airflow coming in, and it's kind of a win-win. The downside is when you're trying to come into the tent, you either have this all out like that or all flopped down like this. Now the back window is kind of the exception because you can roll this up and stuff it in that gap, and sometimes with the side windows that's what I'll do as well. At least roll it up and try to stuff it as much close to the edge as you can. That way you're not like trampling over it on your way into the tent. So additionally, the tent is double walled, so you have 2 layers. You have the outer shell and you have the inner shell, which is great because it helps keep the tent insulated. You kind of have a barrier of air in between the outside and the inside, and then if the outside gets wet, it's not going to immediately soak through and get the inside wet as well. And I've been in the rain in this, and the only annoyance with the rain is the windows, because there's no rain fly on the side. So when it's raining and there's a little bit of wind, you'll get some rain coming in the window, and then you're pretty much forced to close the 2 side windows and keep only the back window open. So that's one of the downsides to this tent. Now, as far as the ladder goes, we have the back bracket, which is more or less permanently installed. You can take it off, of course, but I don't know where you put it unless you put it on the side. And then the tent comes with an extra side bracket, so I chose to mount mine over this entrance. I'll probably end up moving it over a little bit, but this is the best side for me because the batwing awning, when it's out, this is the side that is still accessible when the awning is out. Additionally, this tent offers the ability to store items on top of the tent. So with the purchase of the 2 other rails or making your own rails, you can store whatever you'd like up there. Now, the side rails come with the tent. They're permanently mounted on there, but the crossbars are not, and those are additional. So if you're looking to mount stuff up on the top of your roof, that's definitely one way to go. I personally love that feature. It's one of the reasons why I chose to go with an Alu-Cab or a hardshell tent, because having that extra space, and for me, you saw Max Tracks up there. Those are going to stay up there, and then the next addition is solar, so it'll be a permanent solar solution. The other thing that a lot of people talk about is the Rhino Rack platform. So on my truck, as you can see, I actually lose about 1.5 feet of Rhino Rack platform space. And so far, although it's pretty close, it does not touch. Oh, focus. Yeah, you can kind of see down the way, but it doesn't touch the platform. I haven't done any like crazy trails, but it still has enough wiggle room there that I haven't made contact with it yet. So hopefully my bed doesn't decide to just flex out of control and hit the top of the Rhino Rack. I'm not too concerned about it, but who knows. So the tent is mounted with 4 of these brackets that attach both to the side of the tent on the outside, and then 2 bolts on the inside of the tent, which are really hard to see. And then the bottom is secured by 2 additional bolts on the inside of the bracket as well to the actual load bars. My system is the Leitner Designs active cargo system. I've had no issues with mounting this. However, for the mid-sized trucks, you will need to buy the longer load bars to mount this tent. It's not possible to mount this tent in this configuration with the normal 48-inch load bars. So you actually have to upgrade to the 60-inch, which is what these bars are, which makes it come out a lot more on the sides. I've had no issues with that other than the driver's side because of my fuel containers and the awning. And additionally, I've had to mount the awning on the bottom instead of the top because the length to center the tent properly, I wouldn't be able to properly secure the awning on the side. So getting a little back on track, this is the Alu-Cab. I love it. I love the ease of use. Camping in it has been great. I will say that it tends to stay a little bit on the cold side. So it hasn't been completely cold here yet, but even in the mid 30s, we've been kind of chilly at night. The tent really struggles with maintaining heat, but disclaimer, I have had the windows open, at least partially how you saw the driver's side window when we were up there, to allow some airflow, because there's no condensation mat. There's only a thin padding underneath the mattress that coats the bottom of the tent floor, and so to help prevent condensation, I have that the windows open all the time. Now, reasons you should go with the Alu-Cab tent. I think that if you're looking for something that's easy to set up, you can keep a bunch of gear in, you can mount gear on top, and you're looking for a quality of life improvement, this tent is definitely one of the ways to go. That was my biggest purchase factor for me, was ease of use and quality of life. Now I say quality of life, and what does that mean? That means when I get to camp, I don't want to spend 5 or 10 minutes just configuring the tent setup and going around and propping windows open and putting bedding in and this and the other. Now my CVT, I did put most of my bedding inside of, but pillows like these I couldn't keep inside the tent, at least not reliably, I would say. So with this tent, it's amazing to pull into camp, find a spot, and pop open the back, set up the rainfly and the ladder, and that's it. Everything else is done, except for plugging in the power, and that takes all of 5 seconds. The biggest improvement comes the next morning, where you're packing things away. Now this wouldn't be an issue, but I would show you how we did the CVT. Now the CVT was mounted just like this as well, on the Lightner Designs rack. And if you've ever seen the soft shell rooftop tents or the CVT, you'll know that it's like a clamshell or a big sandwich. It folds onto itself. Now the issue that I had was on this side, it was great because I had the ladder and I would just push it up and over. But on this side was where the struggle was, because I would actually have to climb up and stand on this rail of the truck in order to reach the top of the tent and pack everything in. So like I was saying, with the CVT, there was a lot of crawling around the truck and on the inside of the truck in order to fold it up, pack it in, zip all the way around. And with all the accessories and the awning and the fuel containers, and just having the tent that high up on the truck, on the Lightner, forced you to climb up on top to do some of those things, to pack it properly. And what made it even worse was, the 1 or 2 times that you forget your wallet inside the truck, which everyone, I think, that does this has made the mistake of leaving their keys, their wallet, or their phone up inside of their tent after they packed it away. With the Alu-Cab, that problem is more or less solved. I can stand on the tailgate, I can lift it up in a hurry, and I can reach in and grab whatever I want right from the back of the tailgate. There's no need to have to set up the ladder and everything else. It's taken me a matter of minutes to pull into camp, find a spot, and set everything up, and then I get to look forward to cooking and enjoying the rest of the night versus setting up the tent for 10 or 15 minutes. Now I'm not saying that the CVT is bad in that sense. What I'm getting at is just for my use case, and for the quality of life that I was looking to improve, the hard shell was clearly the answer for that. Now, there are some disadvantages to the hard shell. It's heavier, so the Alu-Cab weighs about 20 pounds more than my CVT does. It's bulkier, obviously. As you saw on the front of the Rhino rack, I've lost about 1.5 feet or 2 feet of storage space over the cab, which I could then migrate that storage space to the top of the Alu-Cab, but then that just extends the vehicle profile even more. So I'm going to be very cautious about what I put up there, but there's an offset. So the CVT was great. It could easily fit 3 adults inside of that tent if you really had to, probably 4 if you really wanted to be uncomfortable. But you saw how narrow the Alu-Cab is, because it's the width of the truck, just longer basically. So I can lay up there and pretty much another person or girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever it may be, your wife or husband, they can sleep next to you like that. But it would be a stretch to say you might be comfortable with another child up there. Probably a small child you could get away with, but even myself and a friend, when her and I went camping 2 weekends ago, we were almost shoulder to shoulder inside the tent, and kind of always moving around. So the space up there is very limited, versus the CVT, which seemed to have enough space for all my bags, and then 2 or 3 people up in that tent. The integrated power is great. I will say that the power box that came with mine was clearly a $5 made in China special that I wasn't impressed with it. For a $4,000 tent, there's a lot of things that you look for that should be higher quality than what they are, and for this, ripping out the electrical box because it flat out didn't work was kind of unacceptable. Now, we did do some troubleshooting with the dealer that I bought the tent from, and it turned out that the Anderson was wired the wrong way, so I swapped my cable for the power cable. I swapped the ends so that it was correct. But that only solved the 12 volts not working. That didn't solve the USBs not working as well. So I just decided to pull the entire unit out, get a new project box off of Amazon, and build my own. I'll also link the article on my blog where I talked about building all of this, and I'll put it in the description down below. So if you're interested to see in how exactly I built the power box, it can really be applied to anywhere you're trying to route 12 volt power to. Let's see. The ladder is probably one of my biggest complaints. It's just big, bulky. It's not necessarily heavy, but it just kind of, you can't put it anywhere else. You basically have to put it inside the tent. And if you make the mistake of putting it over the lip, you're just gonna ruin the lip on the inside of the tent, and that's very, very easy to do. So I would recommend going out and picking up another ladder if you don't want to deal with the Alu-Cab ladder that comes with it. And then just little things, little what I call quality of life things, like shoes. So, like I said before, putting the shoes up inside the tent is just like a no, that's not gonna happen for me. So what I've done is I have a collapsible crate that the shoes go in. They get covered at night, and that's what they'll stay in down on the floor. One thing I miss about the CVT is they have shoe holders that will slide into the C channel. You can actually hang your shoes after you've climbed up, turned around, take off your shoes, and put them right there in the tent. And on the extended series, that whole vestibule, I guess is the word, I don't know, covers where the shoes sit on the outside. So you have the ladder and your two shoe pockets, and those are fully protected from the rain and everything else. So they might be muddy when you put them in there, but you know that they're going to stay dry or stay out of the elements that may happen through the night while you're sleeping. So those are a couple things that I miss. I wish that the Alu-Cab for $4,000 came with rain flies around all the windows. It's such a tiny thing, but it's kind of an annoyance when you're sleeping and it starts raining and you're woken up at 2 in the morning because half of your stuff is wet because you left the window half down and the wind is blowing the rain inside your tent. So I've already put the spring rods away, but this is how you close the Alu-Cab tent. All you gotta do, put the spring rods away, you lift up the band, you grab the strap, tuck everything in, just double check the sides. And there you have it. Now the Alu-Cab is ready to hit the trail, all packed up. otherwise, that's my thoughts on the Alu-Cab. And if you guys have any questions or comments, please post them down in the comment section below. I'm always here to help. And stay tuned, because next we're probably going to do a review on the Lightner Designs ACS, as well as a couple other project videos like the electrical project box that I was just talking about, and we'll see what happens next. So if you like this video, don't forget to hit like. If you want to see more of the content that I'm producing, hit that subscribe button. And like I said, if you have any comments or questions, ask away. We'll see you guys in the next one.